Hello again. Today we'll be talking about the twin coding modules. You can access these through the portal. If you go to the Code Twin, you will encounter coding blocks. And if you click the tutorials on top, you can find example experiments to try out. Right now, we are not going to be focusing on the portal, but we will be talking about the twin coding module so we can get back to the set. Before we start exploring the coding module using experiments, I want to talk about the module itself for a bit. As you can see, it has 6 different parts where you can connect different modules on it. But before you connect different modules, we first have to connect it to a power source. After we connect it to a power source, again, similar to the gray power module, it has a micro USB, so you have to be careful when you're connecting it in order to not have to use excessive force and damage the module itself. After you connect it to the power source, there's going to be a green light showing that it is working. There's also going to be a blue light flashing on and off. This means that the module is now searching for something to connect to. You can then connect it to your phone twin coding app or from your portal, the coding module. Using Bluetooth, you can connect to your phone using the twin code app, or you can connect to the coding part from the portal as well. After you connect, it's going to be a stable blue light, and then you're going to be able to use the coding blocks inside the application or the portal. You can also use jumper cables and connect it to other modules that are not a part of the twin set as well. So if we want to experiment with the coding module, we can go to our twin coding app. This app is available on both iOS and Android from wherever you can download it. After you enter the app, you're going to be greeted by an interface showing you 3 different options: coding, experiments, and controller. Right now, we're going to go into coding to see the example projects that we can do. There are many projects here: emergency light, length meter, a piano, radar. We can do many different projects using the coding module. If we go to My Projects, you can create your own project, but for the sake of learning about the coding module, we will be sticking to one of the examples. So the first one we're gonna experiment with is the lights of the city experiment. If we go into that one, and firstly, obviously, we have to connect the coding module with the power source. After we connect it, it's gonna have the green light as it's on and the blue lights flashing since it is trying to connect. If we click the button on the top right hand side of the application, it's going to search for the twins nearby. If you're in a classroom and there are multiple twins, it might connect to a different one. So if the module isn't working, that might be the reason. But right now, since I'm the only one here, it connects very easily. And as you can see, it shows the coding block shows that the 7.1, 7.2, and the 7.3s on the coding block, on the coding module will be lit with white lights. If I change the 7.1 to red, the 7.2 to blue, and 7.3 to purple, and press start one more time, then it's going to change on the coding module as well. So you have full control over what the coding module does on your application. Now, in order to do our next experiment, I'm going to open one of the lesson plans, which is repetition and variables. I'm going to use our filter in order to find the lesson easily. So if we go into this lesson and scroll down, we can see a video called Flash, the Emergency Light. This is one of the coding module experiments as well, but we're not going to watch the video right now, and we're going to do the experiments itself using the Code Twin part of the portal. After we go to Code Twin, we can go to the tutorials, and the first experiment is going to be the emergency light. After we enter the experiment, we're going to see coding blocks that the experiment consists of. So we have our start block, and then we have our repeat block, which says 3, which means that the action is going to be repeated 3 times. And then we have our RGB LEDs, similar to the one we did previously. They're all red this time, and then the buzzer is supposed to play the D note. And then we have our, again, RGB LEDs showing in different color and the buzzer playing a different note. So let's try it. Okay. So firstly, we're going to be connecting our coding module with our power source. Again, it's on green, meaning that it's on, and the Bluetooth is flashing, so it means that we have to connect it. So if we go to the Bluetooth sign right next to the green flag saying go, it's going to say code.twinscience.com wants to pair. And then if we select twin and say pair, it's going to be paired with our coding module, and it's going to stop flashing blue. And then since on the coding block it says the buzzer is at D6, I'm going to connect the buzzer to D6. And now I can say go. So similar to a police car, it's playing the different notes back to back, and simultaneously it's flashing red and blue. And since the repetition block says 3, the action is repeated 3 times. You can change the color or the note if you want to, and you can change the number of times it repeats as well. So for our next experiment, we're going to be using the ultrasonic sensor. Again, we can use a twin coding app to see the coding block. So we're going to go to coding, and this time we're going to select the length meter, and we're going to be able to see the coding blocks inside. So first on the coding block, we have our start block. And after it, we can see the repeat while true. This part is testing whether the coding block under it is true or not constantly. And then we can see the if ultrasonic value, so centimeters, is smaller than or equal to 50. And then we can see the do or else. So when the ultrasonic sensor detects the distance, if it's smaller than or equal to 50, the RGB LEDs will turn to green. And if it isn't, it's going to turn to red. So now we can test this out. So for this experiment, the only parts that we need are the ultrasonic sensor, the twin coding module, and then our power source. So the ultrasonic sensor has a transmitter and then a receiver. The transmitter transmits the ultrasonic sound waves, and after these sound waves reach a solid point, they will bounce back and be received by the receiver. This way, the ultrasonic sensor is able to detect the distance between. This is similar to how bats and dolphins find their way around. So first, we're going to be attaching the ultrasonic sensor to the twin coding module. And then we're going to be attaching the power source to the module as well. After that, we're going to be connecting the coding module to our application or phone so that it is able to understand the code as well. On the right side, it shows an ultrasonic value. This is the distance between the first solid thing and the ultrasonic sensors, so which is my hand at the moment. If I get it closer, it's getting smaller and smaller. And if I take it further away, it's going to be a higher value. So now, because we've set the value as 50 centimeters, it is going to be difficult with the area that we have to show the color changing. So I'm going to change this to 20 centimeters so that we can test it out. After I change a value or change something in the code, I'm going to have to stop and then start one more time so that it can take in the code. So if I put my hand here, it's going to be 25 centimeters, so it should be red. But as I get closer and reach 20 centimeters, it's going to turn to green. An activity that can be done with this experiment is seeing how tall your students are. So if you get one of your students and put the ultrasonic sensor above their head, you'll be able to see how far it is. And when they get away from the ultrasonic sensor, you're going to see how far the floor is. This way, you're going to be able to get their height. For our next experiment, we're going to look at the lesson plan Exploring Nested Loops. Again, we can access this through the World Science Movement Term 1 part of our portal. If we go into it, again, we're going to be greeted by our introduction, learning objectives, materials, curriculum alignment, and the Sustainable Development Goals. And then we're going to see the video called Loops with Loops, and then our challenge, Smart Animal Gate, where you can do the Smart Animal Gate experiment with your students using the directions on the lesson plan, but today we're not going to look at the lesson plan and we're going to do it together using the coding module. For this experiment, we're going to be using our coding module, the buzzer, servo motor, our power outlet, some tack, our ultrasonic sensors, and then one straw. We can go to Code Twin from our portal in order to access the coding blocks. We'll go to the tutorials again, and then we can go to Smart Security Door, and we'll be greeted again by our coding block. So here we have our starting block, and then we have our baseline. So in our baseline, you can see that the LEDs are supposed to be black, which means that they're not going to be showing any color at the moment. They're not going to be having any color in them. And then we have our servo at D6, which means that it's again at a beginning angle. One important thing to note is we have to change the modes from analog to coding in each parts because we're going to be using the coding module, but inside the coding block, it still stays at analog mode, so we have to switch that around. And then we have initial codes. So it says if the ultrasonic value in centimeters is smaller than 10, it's going to be showing green light. Servo motor's angle is going to be changing from 0 to a right angle at 90 degrees. And then we have our buzzer simultaneously playing the note law. And then the code says to wait for 5 seconds. After waiting for 5 seconds, it's gonna return to its base condition, which is no lights, and then the angle at 0. So we can try this out now. So first we're connecting our power source to our coding module. And then we can connect the servo motors to D6. We can understand which part of the coding module we have to connect the modules to from looking at the coding block as well, because as we can see, it says servo D6 mode coding. So we can understand that we're supposed to connect the servo motor to the D6 of the coding block. And then we can connect our buzzer to D9. And then we're gonna attach our straw using some tack to the propeller of the servo motor in order to imitate a gate. Lastly, we can stick our gate on top of the power source in order to have the circuit all together, and then we can put it all on top of our gray block to secure it so that it is easier. And now we can try it out. Now we're gonna connect our circuit to the coding app. We're gonna go to the Bluetooth icon, select twin, and then say pair, and it is going to be paired. Now we can say start and our circuit will start working. So in order to imitate an animal, we have our little lion here. So if our lion comes walking from this side, the ultrasonic sensors will see him, and then she can go on.